Hello, my friend, and welcome back to Erudite Magic. In this week's episode, we are going to be discussing Paul Draper's newest book on second thought, mentalism, meaning, and performance. Now, I know what a lot of you are thinking. You're thinking, I'm not a mentalist. And maybe it's because I'm a mentalist. I know you're thinking that. Let's not get too meta. The point is here, if you're not a mentalist, keep watching because I think there's another aspect to this book review that you might find insightful. And it's one of production values and how it impacts the readability of a specific book. I'll tell you more about that in just a little bit. But for now, let's address who is Paul Draper, what is this book, how did it get started, and why are we here? Paul Draper is a mentalist from Utah who has traveled the world performing on cruise ships, for Disneyland, on TV, the Magic Castle, lots and lots of corporate gigs. In short, he's been able to make a living performing the art of mentalism. Along the way, someone invited him to write for Magic, Unity, and Might, which is the monthly publication of the Society of American Magicians. He started this back in January of 2018 and I believe is still writing it. That column is known as On Second Thought, where this book gets its name and its content. In fact, the book itself is a compilation of all of the columns that he wrote from January 2018 through November of 2025. The book started off as a Kickstarter project, and after it was successfully funded, it turned into a hardback book that you can buy from your favorite magic dealer, and more on that to come in just a minute as well. At the time of this review, which is June of 2026, there's really only one version that you can still buy. That is a hardbound, full-color, 300-plus page book. However, there is another version of this that soft launched at Blackpool in February of this year. It is a soft-bound, black and white version of this, and I believe it retailed for less than this hardback. And this is the exact reason that we are able to compare two different versions of this book, which, putting all of the content aside and what's in this book, I think makes for some interesting discussion about the value of production values. So what's in this book and who might it appeal to? The book is almost exclusively mentalism, whether that means effects like living and dead tests, psychometry routines, ESP and tarot card tricks, predictions, etc. You get the picture. But there's also a significant amount of articles talking about how to put together a mentalism show, how you should open your show, how you should close your show, framing moments in your act to create visual pictures that your audiences will remember long after the show is over. There are also anecdotal stories and experiences that Paul relays from his travels around the world, some of the mentors that he met, Louis Simonoff, Max Maven, and many others. However, as a performing mentalist, almost everything he discusses is going to be from that point of view. So if you're not a mentalist, I'm not going to say that this book isn't for you, but you'll probably have to work harder to extract more value out of it. If you are a mentalist or you do any kind of mental magic whatsoever, I think that you'll find a lot to like about this, and we'll talk about some of the things I liked and didn't like in a segment coming up. I spoke about getting this from your favorite magic dealer. If you don't have a favorite magic dealer, let me tell you about the sponsor of this week's episode, Don's Magic and Books, because I believe if you start shopping with Don, you'll very soon have a favorite online magic book deal. And that's because Don offers everything from the latest and greatest like this book to older, out-of-print classics that are harder to find but that you want in your library. His online inventory is pretty dynamic because he's getting in very limited copies of some of these out-of-print books, and he's offering everything out at extremely reasonable prices, which means they don't last very long. So I encourage you to shop often with him, and of course, if you do, you'll know that you can qualify very quickly for fast and free shipping if you live in the United States. No matter what kind of book you're looking for, shop with confidence with Don's Magic and Books, knowing that Don loves magic books as much as you or me. I'm going to drop a link down in the description below to point you to his website, bookmark it, and enjoy some fantastic deals with my pal Don. Let's discuss a few of the things that I liked about this book. As a performing mentalist myself, this gave me a lot to think about. The essays and the experiences that Paul shares, I picked up those lessons very quickly and easily because as someone who spent some time on stage doing corporate shows, I recognize exactly what he's talking about, the value in his experience, and the things that I could glean to make my shows, moments, and tricks better. But on top of the essays, he also shares tricks with you. Different pieces that you can perform in a variety of contexts. There is a piece I saw in here that was for when you're checking into a hotel, to perform a quick something for the hotel staff or whoever happens to be behind the desk as long as no one else is waiting in line. There are prediction tricks in here. There are tricks that you could do with tarot for kids. Some of the pieces would be appropriate in a larger parlor or stage environment like the Magic Castle, and some would play in a more intimate scenario. There's a variety of different props. A lot of this you can make at home, which I thought was a plus. You won't need to buy a bunch of expensive gimmicks or anything like that. Most of what you need to know is detailed right here in the book. There's also an interesting timeline to all of this because the book is published with the articles in order of when Paul wrote them. So I find it fascinating to walk along as Paul came up with these ideas, seeing the progression of thought, being able to refer back to something earlier, and it has a slightly different feel than a book that was written just as a standalone book, because this is a compilation of previously published articles. On the flip side of that, the things that maybe I didn't care for as much, and I'll start with one of the things I just mentioned as a positive, and that is the serial nature of the book. Because it was written as a series of articles and then reprinted, it wasn't conceived as a cohesive, big picture book, which means sometimes you'll see a little bit of repetition. There were certain stories as I was reading through that I recalled having read previously. Now, it's not padding or filler. I've seen this happen in a lot of books. In fact, Di Vernon's column from Genie Magazine, The Vernon Touch, has several similar issues. And if you subscribe to my newsletter, the Erudite Magic Digest, you're likely to see the same thing. Occasionally, you have the same patterns of thought and you repeat yourself just a little bit. I don't think that's a big negative in this book, but there were some times where I felt like this advice had already been stated before. The other aspect of this that mirrors what I said in the positives about having a lot of different things like essays and tips as well as tricks has a flip side as well. The book isn't specifically one thing. There are tricks throughout it and there are a lot of essays, but it's not one or the other. This isn't strictly a book of theory and it's not strictly a book of tricks. The tricks themselves, while certainly workable and you could tell that Paul has actually performed them, are more simple, as you would expect from a monthly periodical for a magical society. It doesn't mean they're not good, and in fact, one of the lessons I took away is that sometimes we overcomplicate things when we perform mentalism or magic, and it doesn't need to be that way. While the hardback version of this is in full color, most of the photos in here are publicity or performance shots of Paul, so it's not really the type of book where you're seeing full color photos of where your hands go for a specific trick. A lot of the write-ups stand on their own with just the text. Let's talk about the value proposition really quickly, and then I want to jump into that discussion about the two different versions of the book. On the value prop, this book costs $95 at retail for the full color hardback version of the book. That's one of the pricier releases I've seen in a while for a book of this style. Now, I'm guessing some of this is because it started its life as a Kickstarter, so you have to set your pricing to determine, can this project actually get off the ground? And it appears that from the Kickstarter page, Paul raised $33,000 to print the book, which unlocked two extras, the hardback version of it, as well as a fold-out color poster in the book of Paul Draper along the lines of David Devant. Now, certainly there was a tremendous amount of value in here to be had with the various advice that Paul gave, as well as the tricks that you'll learn. But it kind of depends on what you're looking for, whether you'll get value out of it. If you're looking for more on the theory side, the essays, then certainly you'll tilt toward extracting more value from a purchase like this. If you're looking at this for tricks and mentalism that maybe you haven't seen or done before, I don't think you're going to find quite as much of that here. There's plenty to like in terms of the tricks, but I don't think that it's super dense with tricks itself. While it is a pretty thick book, I would have loved to have seen this come in for that $75 price point for the hardback, but I understand why it couldn't. But let's talk for a second about the differences in the production values and how this impacts all of the magic books that we like to read. This is a rare instance where I was able to see two different versions of the same book. A paperback black and white version, the original that was released at Blackpool, and then the hardbound full color version. And let me tell you, it wasn't even close. In my opinion, the hardbound full color version is way more interesting to want to pull off your shelf and to read. When you just flip through it, the colors jump out at you, the paper quality, the slightly glossy paper, it feels like a book that you want to read. When you flip through the paperback black and white, which is not the one being offered, but does exist and allows us this opportunity to compare and contrast, when you flip through that paperback version, it's not nearly as inviting. Normally something like black and white, hardcover, softcover, these are conceptual topics because usually a book is only printed in one version. But it's fascinating to me to get some insight here into how the production values impact the readability and desirability to actually read the book. If you are a publisher and you are watching right now, I would definitely urge you to consider printing something in hardback and in color if you want this to be something that will appeal to your readers for a long time to come. At the end of the day, I'm glad that books like this exist. Too often we get caught up in books that are trick, a couple discussions of theory, maybe an essay here, an essay there. And while that's okay if you're just trying to learn new tricks, it's nice to see someone who's put in in the work, gone around the world, has a lot to offer, has talked to a lot of interesting and exceptional other magicians, and is happy to share that with the reader. So if you're a mentalist and you're looking to improve your shows and maybe learn a few new tricks along the way, I recommend On Second Thought. If you like theory books like this, then you might want to watch the video I put together on some of the top theory books in today's magic world. You can watch that over here. As always, my friend, I truly appreciate you watching, and until next time, keep reading.